Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And filling in for Terry Stiles this week, I'm Alexis Ware. In this week's news, nonprofit teaches job skills for adults with autism. A mom raises money for a hospital that twice saved her daughter's life. And Addison approves controversial cell phone tower.
Stay tuned and learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. On October 17th, Oxford Village Council President Sue Bosardit was involved in an auto accident. According to the village police report, Bosardit, who was driving a 2017 Ford Escape, attempted to make a left turn off West Burdick Street onto Hudson Street when a passenger side of her vehicle was struck by an oncoming vehicle traveling east on West Burdick Street. The vehicle, driven by a 50-year-old man, Oxford man, Bosardit vehicle flipped over and landed on his side, according to the police report. She was transported to the McLaren Regional Medical Center with minor injuries. The driver of the other vehicle was not injured in the accident. Bosardit was given a citation for failing to yield at an intersection.
The Oxford Village Planning Commission heard a request to allow microbrewery to operate a tap room in an industrial zoned area. The business One Drop Brewing Company is owned by Addison resident Ben Snurl and Morgan Mathis. They want to build an almost 3,600 square feet building on the north side of where Oakdale Dead ends. It's not visible from M24.
A controversial Verizon cell tower cleared the final two hurdles at the October 15th Addison Township Board meeting. In two 6-to-1 votes, township officials approved Verizon's site plan and the land lease agreement for the tower. The tower will stand about 200 feet tall and be located at 5020 Hosner Road on township-owned land.
The cell tower approved by the Addison Township Board will be erected across the road from Kingsbury Country Day School. Attorney Philip Maxwell represents the school and spoke during public comment at the October 15th meeting. He informed officials that the school will be filing a lawsuit against the Addison Township. In November 2017, the school appealed the Addison Zoning Board's second decision to grant a variance for monopole.
A piece of municipal-owned land that was supposed to be on the ballot 2 years ago, but wasn't, due to an administrative snafu, will finally make an appearance on the November 6th ballot. Voters are being asked to give the village permission to sell a 0.589 acre parcel of vacant land situated in the municipality's northwest quadrant near the Pollyann Trail. The property is currently zoned for single-family residential use, and it's located at the southwest corner of Dayton and Maple Streets.
Extraordinary Ventures of Michigan helps adults with autism get work experience. The nonprofit is located at Legacy 925. The nonprofit gives its employees jobs that saves businesses time, such as laundry services, packaging, and assembling small parts. The employee gets to work in areas they enjoy and excel in.
Resident Laura Holt is raising $10,000 for the Boston Children's Hospital. Holt is collecting money for the Every Child Fund, which supports Boston Children's Hospital. She will be running in the Boston Marathon next April as part of the hospital's Miles for Miracles fundraising team. Last year, Holt's daughter Lucy had both her heart and liver operated on at the world-renowned medical facility. Boy, that's something, isn't it?
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
It is, and she's doing well, I understand.
Yeah,
so,
she is.
what I want to mention here is the Oxford Public Library, friends, they're having a holiday vendor fair, and it's coming up Saturday, November 3rd at the Oxford Public Library, of course, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And you'll find lots of great holiday gifts there, available through the multiple vendors that will be there, such as Pampered Chef, Lila Rose Designs, and many, many more. You won't want to miss this, folks. October 3rd, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m.
And that's Oxford News for this week. If you would like to learn more about these stories, and others, you can catch us on our website at OCCTV.org, on YouTube, and of course your regular cable channels, Spectrum Channel 191 or AT&T Channel 99.
Coming up soon, OCTV's very own Cody Wright with school sports and schooling around, incorporating great topics with Alexis Ware.
Yes.
And you won't want to miss Auto Talk and Science in the News with Dave Kenny.
I'm Alexis Ware. Thanks for watching Oxford News This Week.
I'm Elgin Nichols, and remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, skin tans most when you spend every other day out of the sun, according to a new study. This has the added effect of reducing DNA damage and premature aging. Sunlight contains ultraviolet or UV rays that can damage DNA and lead to premature aging and skin cancer. To protect against this, our skin produces melanin, a dark pigment that acts like a natural sunscreen. The pigment starts to form within hours of sunlight exposure and gives the skin, well, a tanned look. Carmet Levy at Tel Aviv University in Israel and her colleagues measured how much melanin mice produced when they were exposed to UV light every day, every second day, or every third day. They assumed that melanin production would be highest in mice exposed to the most frequent UV periods. Similarly, you'd think that someone who went out to the beach every day would tan more than someone who went every second day, said Levy. However, to their surprise, they found that the mice that tanned the most were those exposed to UV light every second day. The extra pigmentation they produced meant their skin also suffered the least DNA damage. The researchers then repeated the experiment using human skin samples and found the same pattern. Together, the findings suggest that skin cells need 48 hours between sun exposure periods to build up their maximum defenses, says Levy. Like your muscles, they need to give them time between gym sessions to let them recover, she says. Her team is now trying to work out the evolutionary reason behind the 2-day melanin cycle. One possibility is that it is tied to vitamin D, which is also released after sunlight exposure and remains elevated in the blood for 48 hours. We think the two systems might be linked, says Levy, and the search goes on. In our next story, sometimes a honeybee hive is not quite buzzing and the workers need a signal to get busy. For the first time, scientists have made extensive recordings of a drumming sound that honeybees make in order to order their colleagues, that is, to get to work. We've known about this dorsoventral abdominal vibration, or DVAV signal, for about 90 years, and some biologists have captured video of bees producing the sound, but these earlier studies only monitored bees for short periods during the day. Now, Martin Benchik at the Nottingham Trent University in the UK and his colleagues have analyzed a year's worth of data from devices that record vibrations in the honeycombs inside 3 hives, revealing more about the function of the message. Only some bees give the signal. They are thought to be older bees who have more experience of foraging. I think they're the most mature, wisest elements of the colony, says Benchik. About 70% of the time, a bee makes the signal by vibrating its abdomen while grasping another bee with its legs to transfer the message. On other occasions, they deliver the vibration directly to the honeycomb. The transmitter bee sometimes runs around the hive, delivering the signal many times in quick succession to reach a larger number of other bees. The effect the signal has on individual recipients is hard to judge, but overall, it has been shown to activate the colony. The recipient bee seems to be energized, says Benchik. She gets on with her job with more energy as if she had a coffee or something. The recordings reveal that the DVAV signal occurs most frequently at night. Why that is, given that no foraging occurs at night, is puzzling, but it might be related to activities like food processing or brood care that goes on around the clock. So get busy, little bees. In our last story, it's easy to think Tyrannosaurus rex was so large that the ground shook as it approached. But it seems the dinosaur made less of a rumble than expected. Heavy animals produce earthquake-like seismic waves with every footfall. We know that other animals can detect these. Large dinosaurs must have produced seismic waves too. Ernesto Blanco at the University of the Republic in Uruguay and his colleagues decided to investigate it. They analyzed 64 fossil footprints left by large dinosaurs, including herbivores, omnivores, and carnivorous theropods, a group that includes T-Rex. The theropods had a more elongated foot. When they simulated the seismic wave pattern generated when the various dinosaur feet hit the ground, they found that the waves up to the theropod feet were weakest in the walking direction. In other words, theropods had a foot shape that would have allowed them to sneak up on their prey, seismically speaking. Blanco suggests that elongated feet may have evolved because they gave theropods a hunting advantage. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television.
Welcome back to School News. This is the first School News where we actually have our student host, Miss Rylan Olaja. She's in 5th grade here at Lakeville Elementary. Rylan, how does it feel to be the first student host?
Exciting.
Exciting?
Yeah.
When did you find out that you were going to be the first student host?
Well, one time my teacher pulled me and said, "Are you interested?" And I said, "Of course." And then she emailed my mom to see if it was okay.
Yeah, and I heard your parents were really excited too, right?
Yeah.
Yay, so they're going to be watching this pretty soon. It's going to be up next week. Yeah? All right, so just a tad bit of information before we get into Rylan. Last week we had the Oxford Middle School 6th grade Halloween party, so that was really fun. As well as Daniel Axford had their trunk or treat event, and then Lakeville had their haunted house and Fall Fest all weekend long. This week you can expect to see Bridges with their Spirit Week, as well as a half-day dismissal at 12:05. Check for the individual schools to see if that school or if your school is participating in that. As well as Oxford Middle School has their ending first quarter on Friday. And that's all for the informational part of School News. So Rylan, how does it feel, or rather, what does it mean to be kind to you?
It means helping others and making sure everyone feels like how everyone feels included and everyone feels like they're doing something. And when someone's a leader, they're not bossing everyone around.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good leadership role even. So around Lakeville Elementary, what all do you do to help and make sure that everyone feels included?
Well, if someone's not in a group, we would usually ask them to come in, and if they're not your best friends, it's okay.
Exactly. So what can you tell to our viewers right now and to all of Oxford District as well as Leonard and the other parts that we broadcast to? What can you tell them to do in order to include everyone in the community?
If someone's not feeling included or upset, just hang out with them even if you're not their best friend.
Yeah, it's a really good tip. All right, and what is going on in the halls, since it's right behind us in the halls of Lakeville Elementary?
Well, usually it's people in the mornings, they can drop stuff and people will help them pick it up. So everyone's really kind in the hallways. Most people walk in the halls and they're not touching the things on top of the halls, like the flags and the banners. They're not touching that stuff.
Great, all right. And is there any events that you guys have coming up that you want to tell them to look out for? Anything that comes to mind? If not, that's fine. Tell us what your curriculum is like right now. What are you guys learning inside Ms. Powers' class?
So right now we just finished our social studies unit where we did presentations about like the Pacific Northwest and what they ate and how they dressed and what
How
they
did they dress? Tell us that really fast. That sounds
I didn't
interesting.
really research what they did. I researched the gender roles of the Chippewa tribe. And we got to do slideshows and presentations, but they mainly wore buffalo skin.
Oh, wow. That's nice. And how did they get that buffalo skin?
Well, they would hunt and they would use every single part of the buffalo.
So they were very resourceful.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Well, that sounds like really in-depth work right there. All right, so do you guys do math in here? What kind of math are you guys working on
we're
right
working
now?
on decimals right now.
Are those hard?
Kind of. Some of the parts are easy, but when you start adding in them, it gets a little tricky.
Oh yeah, I can remember math. It wasn't my strongest point, but as long as you study and you work
Yeah.
really hard at it, I mean, anything, you can get anything, right? And then you was telling me that you've been here for 6 years now. It's a really long
Yeah,
time.
I've been here ever since kindergarten.
And then how is it like going from grade to grade in the same building? You're almost out of it.
Yeah, well, you know all the teachers. Because I have an older sibling who's really been through the teachers, but I've never really had the same teachers as him. This is my first teacher I've had that he had.
And how is it?
It's really nice. I
Okay.
love Miss Powers. And
And who's your brother? Let's give him a shout
Tanner
out. real fast.
Ojala.
Hi, Tanner. How does it feel to see your little sister being the first student host? And remember, guys, that you guys can all be student hosts too. All you need is good grades, good attendance, and you need some of that leadership role, right? All right, cool. So now you are in 5th grade, so next year you're going into middle school.
Yeah.
How exciting is that?
It's a little scary, but at first it really was. But since my brother's in 8th grade, so
He's going to be there with you.
Yeah, well, next year he'll be in high school, but
You're right.
but he tells me about it and he says it's great, and that really gets me excited about it.
Okay, awesome. So you won't be in middle school with them, but because high school is 4 years, you're going to have your first year in high school with them. Are you already thinking about that?
I've talked to him, and I'm really excited to have a year of school with him because the last time he was in 5th grade and I was in like 2nd grade.
Cool. So
So-
you had you walked the same halls together.
And he's also been in this. He also has since kindergarten he's been in this school. So we've known this school for a really long time.
Awesome. And then you guys are just going to go to the same schools, all of the same schools. Great, awesome. So you'll have already some insight and know some of your way around a little bit better. Awesome. All right, well, I think that just about does it for our first episode of School News with our student host. And guys, remember, like I said earlier in the show, that you can be a student host as well. All you need are good grades. What else do you need? How can you become a student host?
I would suggest being kind and showing kindness and leadership and not being mean to others. But if you do get in a fight with someone, just to kind of handle it.
And I mean, maybe you shouldn't get into a fight with them, but
No.
maybe pull them aside or
Yeah.
tell your teacher to pull both of you guys aside and have a talk with them.
Yeah.
'Cause that's a lot easier than being mad at someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, that does it for this week of School News. Next is Cody Wright with School Sports.
What's going on, Wildcat fans? Cody Wright back here once again with this week's Sports Report. This fall season is really burning out sport by sport, but our football team is still very much alive and running. This week's report isn't a long one. We're going to go over some football details and some girls volleyball, and that's about it. Anyhow, let's talk about the football team. This Friday, we are taking on Davison here at home in the first official playoff game. Last week, the boys took on Troy Athens here at home and absolutely crushed them 35-0. This team has been a blast to watch this season, and from the start of the season, there definitely was a hint of potential in the air, even after the first game against Romeo, which was close but victorious. Anyhow, only time will tell as we start the grind away at these last tight spot games. Also, the freshman club took on Athens last week on the road, and they took the loss 39-15. Anyhow, on the flip side, the girls volleyball team competed in a tournament last week, taking on 4 different teams in the same day. Falling to Seaholm was the only upset of the day, 2-0. We took it to Brandon, Romeo, and Country Day, all 2-0 wins for our Wildcat Varsity Volleyball Club. Like I said, there is not a lot to report on this week. When the season runs down like this, most seasons expire week after week, only leaving a few playoff sports left for us to watch. Our football team is good this year, and if you haven't been out to any of the games, you're surely missing out. You can find all the info you need on that at oxfordathletics.org, along with past score statistics and game breakdowns. That all can be found right there at oxfordathletics.org. While you're at it, might as well check us out at OCCTV.org. All of our coverage of these events can be found on our YouTube page, which you can access through the website. Once again, that is OCCTV.org. A last reminder of the upcoming winter sports that lie ahead. It's basketball season, both boys and girls. We also have our wrestling team, which is always very, very strong. Boys swim, hockey, both boys and girls bowling, which was absolutely phenomenal last year, both sides, and skiing and competitive cheer. So we got a full load in the winter to look forward to, but let's not forget about the fall that lies ahead still. So that's all for this week's report. I know it's not as much, but it is exciting, and I hope to be delivering some good news next week on the boys football team. I want to thank you all for watching and remind you all to tune in next time. But until then, I'm Cody Wright, and go Wildcats.
Hi, I'm Elgin Nichols with Oxford Community Television.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we represent Minutes by Minute, in which case you want to catch local information that's going on with your government officials.
That's right. Whether you live in the village of Oxford, Oxford Township, village of Leonard, Addison Township, we'll cover it all.
All of the above, and we'll look to see you there.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, the term active suspension has periodically turned up on vehicles over the past 30 years, but it was always kind of a misnomer. It referred to systems that largely smooth out the ride over bumps in the road, thus more of a reactive suspension than active. But that begins to change this year with U.S. introduction of the redesigned Audi A8 sedan. Thanks to a circle of active sensors, an onboard 48-volt electrical system, and lightning-quick electromechanical actuators, the big German luxury sedan's predictive air suspension system can do more cool tricks than a well-trained service dog. One example. When equipped with the optional top-end suspension system, the A8 can sense an impending side impact and raise the side of the vehicle by 3.1 inches, allowing the heavily reinforced sill to absorb a larger portion of the collision energy. Audi demonstrated the features to journalists this month at a former airfield, though the predictive active suspension won't be available as an option until next summer on 2020 models. Large yellow foam blocks simulating the front of an oncoming vehicle were placed on a sled that was pulled toward the passenger side of the parked A8 at 30 miles an hour. At the threat of a side impact collision, as determined by the side-mounted sensors, the A8 braces itself. The sedan arms its airbags and, as the threat increases, closes windows and the sunroof, and finally, at the last second, uses the air suspension to raise the vehicle on the side of the impending crash. Audi says the system's effectiveness will depend on the characteristics of the oncoming vehicle, but by increasing the height of the impact can be absorbed by the high-strength steel in the sill and body structure instead of the weaker doors. The added side impact protection also handles potholes in an unusual manner. Shock absorbers and/or struts keep a vehicle's cabin stable, while the wheels and tires absorb the shock of striking the edge of the hole. With the A8 suite of onboard sensors, the sedan can see the tire heading for a pothole and somewhat suspend the wheels from falling too far into the hole, easing the strike on the trailing edge of the hole and smoothing the ride. The same technology allows the A8 to absorb speed bumps with almost no discernible impact in the cabin and keeps the big sedan from diving during hard stops and squatting during hard acceleration. The A8's onboard sensors, including radars, laser detection, and cameras, also enable the sedan's driver assist system, including lane keeping and Audi's traffic jam assist and adaptive cruise control system that automatically brakes and accelerates in traffic. During a 40-mile test drive, the driver only once felt the need to intervene when a lane approaching an intersection split in two with no additional markings. Optional four-wheel steering, which will be available at launch, also gives the A8 the turning radius of a small sports sedan such as the A4. Wow, that's a lot of technology. On the recall front, Ford Motor Company said October 25th it will recall nearly 1.5 million cars in North America to address a faulty part that could lead to engine stalls. The automaker said it's calling back 2012 to 2018 model Ford Focus cars with a 2-liter GDI and 2-liter GTDI engines for malfunctioning valve that could result in inaccurate fuel level readings and potential engine stalls or an inability to restart the engine. Ford said it is not aware of any crashes as a result of this condition, but said owners should maintain at least a half a tank of fuel until the recall is completed. And at BMW, BMW is recalling about 1.6 million diesel cars globally to fix a potential fire hazard in their engines, expanding repairs from just under 500,000 vehicles in Europe and Asia. The voluntary service action follows a BMW investigation that found coolant could leak from the car's exhaust recirculation unit. The defect can lead to sparks while driving and cause fires in extreme cases, the automaker said on October 23rd. South Korea's government, after reports of 40 fires this year, asked drivers to keep vehicles off roads until undergoing checks. Police also raided the automaker's office in Seoul to probe the safety issue after videos of cars engulfed by fire went viral. The vehicles affected, diesels with 4- and 6-cylinder engines, were produced between 2010 and 2017, BMW said. After the initial recall announced in August, BMW's internal investigation found more vehicles with similar technical setups. The company said it will replace the components as necessary. Well, that's it for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways.